Let's try updating where we inherited from the event emitter to use ES6 classes. We've opened our code that we built to create our greeter, which inherits from event emitter using util.inherits provided by Node, and simply sets up the prototype chain so that the event emitter is down it. And we also had already added this call, .call, in order to make sure that our objects being created from greeter have all the properties and methods they should. Now let's update this using ES6 classes. It's actually pretty simple. I'll just add useStrict to make sure I tell the V8 engine that I'm using the stricter version of JavaScript. That is to say, more errors won't let me do as many things, and that will make classes available to me in this version that I'm using now. Now I'm actually just going to go ahead and create class greeter, and then I'll create a constructor, parentheses. We didn't pass anything to it, so I'll just take this.greeting, and so any object will get that. Now, how can I make sure that the event emitter's constructor is also called? Well, with classes, instead of directly calling the parent of the class, the parent of the constructor, you just say super, and that actually does the same thing. But in order to call super, you have to say what you're inheriting from. Now down here we used util.inherits, which we saw earlier used object.create, but with class that's been simplified. Even though it still does the same thing, all we have to type is the keyword extends and then event emitter. So that means that greeter will extend event emitter. And now I can get rid of the greeter function constructor. I can get rid of util.inherits. I can actually get rid of util entirely because I'm not using it anywhere else. And then I can take this greet method, which is on the prototype and thus available everywhere. It takes some data, and then I can just take my console.log and emit. I could convert this to template literals if I wanted to. So I could say backtick and then $, this.greeting, get rid of that plus, get rid of that, get rid of that and that plus, then $, and the data, and then in the backtick. There. So we've just gotten rid of util.inherits, and we've converted this to a class that inherits from event emitter. And this does the exact same thing. It just sets it up down the prototype chain. We called the constructor. We have a prototype with the property on it, the method on it. So it's exactly the same. It's just syntactic sugar. It's easier to type. Nothing changed about what happens under the hood. And so I call it, and there. I emitted my event, and my event listener ran exactly the same way. Now, you may be wondering, hey, this is Node. Can I use this in a module? Absolutely, because class is just syntactic sugar. It works essentially just like a function constructor, and I can use it in a very similar way. So I'll create a new file, let's say greeter.js, and I'll go and grab my event emitter require and my class itself. I'll put useStrict and then go out and get the event emitter and the class. And I'll actually now export the class using what's called a class expression. See that? I'm using a class just like any other variable, and just like I can a first-class function. So I'm exporting the class itself, and that's it. Pretty neat, right? So if I go to my app.js, then I can just say greeter, use the require function, get my greeter file, get that class back, and use it. And then there it is. It worked just like that. So there's my class exported. Or I could have set this equal to a variable and exported the variable. But that's it. So it's up to you, again, when you want to use classes. It depends on what you're running on your local box and on your server, what you have available to you as far as the version of Node. But if you can, and you like to, you can start using classes to construct your objects, to export from your modules, etc. But the important thing is that you understand what's going on under the hood, so that you understand that it's just syntactic sugar. All right, let's move on.